I'm in Australia and I don't have a
Wow.
podcast. I'm just trying Anchor out, and this is my second recording, so I'm just trying this thing out.
Okay, super cool, super cool. So, the subject was to rant about anything, and
Where are you from?
where am I from? Originally, I'm from the Highlands of Scotland. Right now, I'm hanging out in Slovakia in Central Europe. I'm on my balcony, and I'm in a town called Banska Bystrica. It's a kind of small town. I can see the forests, and I can see the vapor trails of the plains overhead, and chilling out. It's nice. It's nice. So that's where I'm at right now. So ranting about anything. Is there anything that's on your mind? Is there anything that's bugged you or bothered you recently? Is there anything that anybody's done that's got on your nerves? How's that from your perspective?
Well, life from my perspective is pretty good. I'm a fairly positive person. It's not not that I do complain about work now and then. I'm an accountant, by the way, and I can rant about people not understanding accountants, and
That's good. I like that idea.
probably rant about people not people thinking that accountants are boring. Obviously. So, look, I'm generally pretty happy, and I was actually looking forward to listening to you.
Man, I can rant a little bit about accountants, but most of the accountants I know are really nice people, so I just don't really want to. I don't really want to kind of attack them in any kind of way, except the fact. Here's something for you, right? I'm a private business person, okay? And
Right.
the crazy thing with accounting and numbers is that when I do my taxes at the end of the year, I sit down with my accountant, and my accountant is like, basically, how much tax do you want to pay?
Right. You shouldn't probably discuss that openly now.
Look, man, I'm honest. Okay, I know. It's like, you're going to get into trouble. You shouldn't say that.
Let me correct you. I think all you probably said was, your reply was, look, I will actually pay the correct amount. Is that right?
Yes, sir. That is exactly what I said.
Oh, good on you. Good on you.
Thank you. Well, no, and this is so, and this is what people who don't run businesses, people who haven't been on the organizational side, because there's more people who are, let's just say, there are more people who are employees than there are employers, right?
Correct.
So, and there's a big difference between being on one side and being on the other side. Now, I've been on both sides in my life, and so
Sure.
I think I understand that you really, if you've only ever been an employee, you don't get the whole picture, right?
True. Absolutely.
You don't get you don't get the risk that's involved in business, because there's a massive risk involved every day in each and every business. Just think about I was talking with someone earlier today in business about crisis management, right? And it's businesses make mistakes, people make mistakes, and it can be costly, right, for companies on one side. And on the other side, there's things you just can't control, right? I mean, you get tornadoes and hurricanes and tsunamis and volcanoes exploding and just earthquakes.
Sure, and then absolutely, completely agree with you.
And so there's all these risks involved, and if you've only ever been an employee, you kind of get up in the morning and you kind of stuff some breakfast in your mouth and you kind of amble off to work, and you just kind of, you get, at the moment you arrive at work, you're thinking about lunch, right? And, it's the biggest, most complicated decision you make during the day is where the hell, oh my God, we have lunch here or have lunch there? Oh dear. And you stumble back to work and you look at the clock until it's time to go home, right?
See, Graham, the problem is, well, let me give you a bit of insight into an accountant's life.
Okay.
I have a wonderful time doing my accounting, and I love what I do. And it is a breeze, you know. I love. I get up in the morning, jump out of bed, and the only thing I want to do is to go and start my work, and I love it. Obviously, you believe me, right? And
I'm gonna go. Yeah,
I could actually see your face, and I was probably thinking, what pills is this guy taking? I want some, right?
Yeah. Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah. So, what business were you? What business are you in, Graham?
Okay. I'm originally I founded a language school which taught English, French, and Spanish. But that progressed into business coaching and lifestyle consultancy because the problem was once the person learns the language, what next, right? Because you know, learning the language is a great and useful tool and skill, but only if you apply it, right?
Absolutely.
Apply it. If you have knowledge but you don't apply it in life, if you have experience and you don't apply it in life, it doesn't really mean anything.
True. Absolutely.
So there was this realization that language alone is not enough. It's not enough to just be able to use the language. You've got to go out into the world and do something creative, do something constructive with it. You've got to use it to meet people. You've got to use it to extend your knowledge. You've got to use it to cross borders and boundaries and make a difference in people's lives.
Obviously, you can actually translate for yourself. You know, if you know 3 languages, you can sort of talk to yourself in one language and reply in the other, and then translate yourself and teach yourself.
I'm sure there's people.
So do you know all the swear words in all 3 languages, Graham?
The swear words, I don't focus on that at all because there's people who like that kind of stuff, but I'm just like. Yeah, okay, been there, done that. Let's kind of move on and the language. It's about language is about new things. You know, if you're repeating the same old stuff again and again and again, it sort of just it sort of drags.
So you might hear a little bit of noise in my car. So I'm actually picking up my children from soccer. So you might hear a bit of noise there, but I can still talk for another 5 minutes. So.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, cool. That's super cool. So, so the thing about accounting, let's go back to accounting, right? So, so my accountant says, so how much tax do you want to pay? And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm like, you're the expert, right? I'm employing you to optimize my contributions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, I trust you. You know, I have a contract with my accountant which says that if there's a mistake, that they're responsible. So I trust them to be responsible, right? To make sure that there's no mistake.
You know that they're never responsible, right? So when you sign your tax return, all you say is that you're responsible.
Yeah, his signature is on the paper, right? I mean, it's my signature that's on the paper, right?
That's
so
what he would say to you is that given all the information received from my client, I have done my best job possible. So he's never responsible.
Oh yeah, it all comes down to the person who runs the organization is responsible at the end of the day. And that's what I mean about when I was talking about the risk in terms of finances in companies. And that a lot of people don't understand the risks involved. And you need to, it bothers me when I see people not reaching their full potential. I can rant about that a little bit as well.
No, for sure. Look, I think please go ahead. That is, and also it is. I believe it is the organization's responsibility to bring out the best in their people.
Oh yes.
With the politics and everything else that goes on in a business, but it's a shame though.
Absolutely. But here's my perspective on the company and the corporation and the business. The aim of the company, corporation, or business is to provide purpose in people's lives, right? It's not just a job because you spend the productive hours of your day at work. It's about giving people a reason to live. Right? Because you got two choices. Number one, you give yourself a reason to live, or number two, you pick up somebody else's reason. Okay, so it tends to be like you start your own business or you work for somebody else. Now that's either way, it's fine, because you have to do something in life. But the main great thing that business does is it gives purpose to people. It makes people get out of bed in the morning. It makes people move. It makes people communicate with each other. If we didn't have that, and I tend to, you go back 300, 400 years where society was much less well developed, and the only thing that brought people together was essentially religion, right, and church, and once a week people would meet and they would go to church and they would communicate with each other, and then they'd go back home and do whatever their daily life was, right? Well, business has taken over from that now. People are much less invested in their spiritual religious life in terms of the time they spend and the money they spend on things than they are invested in their business life and their business world and their work. And essentially, work has become religion for a lot of people. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that work now provides purpose for people's lives where religion provided it a lot previously. And you can get balances, right? I mean, you can get people who are still very spiritual and very religious and have a job as well, and they're able to balance their lives that way. But for a lot of people, they spend so much time and put so much energy into the tasks, their jobs, that it is for them a religion. And if they don't get purpose from it, you're not getting what you need from it if you don't have purpose.
For sure, absolutely, completely agree.
So, I mean, this is what attracted you to accounting in the first place? What was it that got you going in that direction?
Well, it was really my dad who wanted me to become an accountant. So this is going back a long time.
Okay, and
about 27 years ago. So it's more about when I was born in Sri Lanka, so when I started my career, I probably lacked a bit of direction. So I think my father said to me, "You will become an accountant," and that's what I became.
And what advice, with your experience, what advice would you give to other people who are thinking about, the same kind of career? What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, look, I'd basically, if I had to do it again, I would say to people, pick something that you like. If you don't pick something that you like, it will be picked for you. So you got to be focused on what you like doing and go for it. If not, people will dictate.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like choose or be chosen, right?
Absolutely. I think that's what happens in real life as well, isn't it? So if you don't have a goal, the goal will
absolutely. If you're not a leader, you naturally become a follower. And
I think we've got 10 seconds, Grant. We've got 10 seconds to finish. So nice talking to you, and absolutely wonderful.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.